So as you look at the assessment for learning, there are really the 6 targets underneath it. We can probably just focus on a couple of them today, see how far we get, maybe get 3 or so of the 6, and then maybe next time hit the other 3. And what we're going to do is just look at this configuration map. And I gave this to you last week to kind of look through. By no means did I want you to study it, but I just want to be able to have a conversation about it. It's set up with the high level of implementation on the left side and a lower degree of implementation on the right side. So what we can do is start on the right side, and then you can just decide, yep, that's me, or no, that's not me, and we can move farther to the left. And what my hope is that we can talk about ways that, reasons why. Yeah, so this first one focuses more on like the K-12 span. So thinking about the educator utilizes K-12 learning progression along with students, which students are expected to progress in a domain. So, I mean, this isn't really something you necessarily do only by yourself. It would be, in those conversations that we have, vertical teams and stuff like that. So maybe just read through this first one right here with me, and then you decide this is where I am, or let's go maybe back up to number 2. So educator never articulates how the learning goal for the current instructional sequence fit into a larger K-12 progression. What are some of the words that jump out at you there?
Well, obviously never. And I think we've had more of those talks lately with the vertical teams, and I think I'm always constantly thinking, okay, what do they need to be successful next year? How does this fit into next year? But I think as we talk more about Iowa assessments and stuff like that, now it's how am I going to prepare them so they're ready to take on the new challenges each year instead of just getting them to first grade. So I think that's been pushed a little bit. I don't think I'm necessarily there.
Okay, so let's go over to 2 and see if that fits more closely. Educator can articulate for some instructional sequences how the learning goals fit into a larger K-12 progression.
And I think I'm more here just because I feel very comfortable talking about the progression of reading in the early elementary stage. Now I'm trying to push myself with benchmarks, since we're all kind of using the same verbiage and such, that now I'm trying to think, but how does inferencing look like as a 3rd grader? How does inferencing look like as a 6th grader? And that I hadn't ever pushed my brain to prior to benchmark. And that's really made me start to think that a little bit more. And I always go to literacy, and I know it's because A, I like to teach that more, and B, we spend, I would say, 75% of our day on just literacy in here, trying to get that foundation set. So I think I have a clear picture of what is needed in literacy opposed to math. I feel good about math, I really do, but I think my brain always defaults to literacy.
And you're doing new things in math too with your assessments, making them more targeted toward the actual standards too. So, so let's look at 1, and then maybe we can see, if there's a difference. Yeah. Educator can consistently articulate how the learning goals for the current instructional sequences fit into a larger K-12 progression that sets out increasingly more sophisticated understanding of core concepts or principles around the big ideas in the domain.
I think I could definitely speak to K3 maybe. I felt very good as a K2 instructor before, because I felt like at Van Horn Elementary those conversations were always being had because we were all on the same schedule. We all had that opportunity all the time to talk. So I think I can speak very confidently to like a K2, and I think we've pushed it to K3 this year. But beyond 3rd grade, I mean, I do need a lot of work in seeing what that looks like. It's very different from my world right now.
So it sounds like from the level 2 to a level 3, you're aware of the different kind of expectations that what you're doing in kindergarten builds upon the foundation of what's going on in the later grades. So you're very aware of that, and you've done some work on the K1 level and the K2 level, and now even this year the K3 level. But really it's just broadening that to the K-12 spectrum is really how you maybe would see fitting into the level 1 here. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So right now we'll pick the 2 for this one. And then depending on where we are with this one, we'll see where overall the attribute 1 sets.
Okay.
So this one, the lower degree of implementation, educator does not monitor individual students' location and progression along the progression of learning.
Oh, I think I definitely.
Definitely
and not probably there.
sticks out that does not monitor.
Yes.
That's the one that, so we know that that's exactly not you. Educator occasionally monitors some students' location and progression along the progression of learning.
I think I'm monitoring all the time.
Okay.
I think sometimes it almost maybe interrupts our learning. But
Great. So let's go over here to the high degree. Educator consistently monitors each student's location and progression along the progression of learning.
I'd say I'm there for that.
Okay. So this one and this one. So the attribute 1 is that K-12 learning progression. So maybe the kicker here would be you're pretty solid on the primary, but it's extending. And we'll have more opportunities for those vertical conversations. And I'm sure even with benchmark, K6 has been something we've talked about with PD,
Yes.
but it's extending beyond that and really pulling in the Common Core language and seeing how it transfers. Okay. So attribute 1